I have two products from the company Sierra Madre that I want to share with you today. This is their emergency sleeping bag and their pure water straw. If you're interested in hearing more about them, keep watching. Sierra Madre reached out to me about a month and a half ago or so and offered to send these products to me. Apparently there's quite a bit of a promotional push with these to get them into people's hands. They seem to think it's a matter of life and death according to their advertising. And I will agree with them totally that you should have something like either of these or both of these in your kit for emergencies. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Whether or not it's these items, well, that's what we'll discuss during this video. So I want to talk a little bit about each of these products, what they're capable of, what they are not capable of, and how is the best way to use them. All right, let's get started. All right, we are going to start with what they refer to as an emergency sleeping bag. Now, I am going to take it out of the pouch in a minute, but I just want to talk a little bit about what the item is before I take it out of the pouch, because once I do, well, you'll understand why. They're often really hard to get back into their pouches after the fact. So basically what it is a Mylar, reflective Mylar bag, plastic garbage bag for all that matter. It is 7 feet in length and 3 feet across, and it's just an open-ended flat bag. Yeah, so that's really basically all it is. It's orange on one side and silver reflective Mylar on the other side. So it's not it's not a sleeping bag. Let's clear that up right away. I think they're doing people a disservice by referring to this as a sleeping bag. I've seen the same product sold under other names referred to as a emergency bivy sack, and that's closer. But really what it is a large Mylar bag that may have value in terms of possibly saving your life under the right conditions and using it in the correct fashion for best effect. It's not a sleeping bag. Don't get the idea that this will in any way replace your sleeping bag and you can leave it at home for something this small, this light. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. At the same time, like I said, it has value. So let's just talk about that. Again, I'm going to take it out and I'm actually going to get in it to show you what it looks like in a moment's time. But the emergency sleeping bag really follows the same concept as all the emergency space blankets, reflective Mylar blankets, if you will. And again, a disservice to refer to them as a blanket because it tends to give the person who takes one with them the impression that it will warm them up. It will not warm it up. There is no insulative value either in the blankets or in this bag. What it is a reflector. All right, you have to be clear on this. It is a reflector and a wind block. Let's get to the very basics. There are 4 ways you're going to lose heat out in the environment. There is conduction. That means directly out of your body into something like the ground, wet ground, cold rock, whatever else that maybe you're sitting on or laying on. There's radiation. That means the heat of your body just radiates out in infrared rays. That's why you can pick it up on the certain kind of cameras that can pick up heat signatures. Those are infrared. So your body is losing heat constantly through infrared and radiation. It can also be lost through convection. That's the wind just carrying the heat, the hot air that you're producing, carrying it away from your body and helping you cool off. I'll tell you right now, it's a nice thing to have. Gentle breeze, hot day, very humid. I actually appreciate the convection. Another set of circumstances, I probably wouldn't appreciate the convection. And then the last one is evaporation. I'm sweating. So I am actually losing not only water from my body, but I'm losing body heat as I sweat. Now, it's nice that convection's carrying it away, so it's not quite as bad as it could be if there was no wind at all. So it's nice. Now, I say that for a reason, that little background information, because this will not deal with conduction. If you get inside of this bag and lay on the ground, you're going to feel just as cold as if you were laying on the bare ground directly. The only difference it will be is it might keep you dry for a little while from the ground. So it's not going to help you with conduction. It's not going to help you so much with, well, yeah, I guess it will help you with evaporation because it's going to keep your moisture inside of the bag. These don't breathe. Imagine getting inside of a garbage bag. That's basically what you're doing, is getting inside of a large garbage bag. So it may help keep the moisture inside so you're not likely to lose it. But just think about that for a minute. How long can you be inside of a garbage bag before you start to feel wet and clammy? And that is one of the things you'll experience if you use this. But what it will help you with are convection and radiation. So there's no small things. Those are important things to deal with as well. It just won't help you completely. So radiation, that's what this is designed for. It's designed to reflect back any radiated heat in the form of infrared rays back towards your body. That it will do better than anything else, there's no question. It's also designed to help with convection. So because it's a waterproof, windproof bag, the wind is not going to cool you off as fast. You will lose some heat through the bag anyway, so it will take away some of that heat, but it will slow it down dramatically. So just keep those in mind when you put one of these or any space blanket in the bottom of your backpack for those just-in-case emergencies. Now, when do those emergencies occur? Obviously, when you at least expect them to. That's why you don't, if you knew you were going to be, or could be, or just even the possibility of being in a situation where you had to stay out overnight in cold weather, don't rely on this. Take a proper sleeping bag with you. That's a proper emergency planning for possible emergencies. This is for something that you weren't expecting. So I'm out here today. It's beautiful. It's in the high 20s. It's humid. Yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable. But like, here's the thing. If I'm back probably 2 or 3 kilometers into the woods, I'm not that far back. If I call for help, it would take a little while, but search and rescue or somebody could come and get me if necessary. That's assuming that I was injured and couldn't get out on my own. If I was any further back, if it was at night and I injured myself, broke my leg, some other injury that I couldn't get out on my own, and I wasn't planning for it. I'm actually not planning for that to take place today. So this is why something like this dropped in the bottom of my bag would be something that I would like to have on me when that emergency takes place. Again, if I thought it was going to be an emergency, then I would take, like if I thought it was going to be cold and an emergency, I'd take something more than this. Temperatures right now are dropping down into the mid-teens, so it's not especially cold overnight. It's not like I'm going to freeze to death in minus 14, minus 20 degrees Celsius range. Unless I am injured or ill. If I suddenly got quite sick, I could start to lose body heat regulation dramatically, and something that wouldn't affect you if you're not injured could seriously affect me because I am injured or ill. Another reason for having something like this in your backpack, or even your day pack for that matter. Now, I'm talking about carrying this out in the woods, but what about putting it in your vehicle? The company goes through great lengths to talk about what happens if you're in your vehicle and you're stranded during the winter time. And there's been cases of that here in Nova Scotia and a lot of places where sudden winter storms shut the highways down, cars are stranded for hours, long before help can get to people. People are sitting in their cars, cold, run out of gas, who knows what the circumstances are. Having this in your glove box or in the trunk in a go bag of some type could make a lot of difference in terms of keeping you warm for a while. And I say for a while because, like I said, you're going to start to perspire in these sooner or later, and it is going to make you uncomfortable. Now, as long as you stay in the bag, that perspiration isn't an issue. Uncomfortable, but it won't make you colder. Get out to go to the bathroom and all bets are off. You're going to suddenly get very chilled. You'll have to get back in the bag and generate a lot more heat to get warmed up again. All right, so like I said, I am going to get this out in a minute, but I want to talk about the water filter, and then we'll do the 2 demonstrations. The second item that Sierra Madre sent to me is this, what they're referring to as a pure water straw, basically a water filter that you can, again, pack away in your backpack for any time that you have a need for drinking water. And we always have a need for drinking water. So, it's not unusual for people to go for a hike in the woods, take a water bottle with them, yes, and hope that maybe their 500 ml, 1 liter bottle, 2 cup, 1 liter or 1 quart bottle will last them during the time that they're out there. Maybe it will, and maybe it won't. On a day like this, you can be surprised just how much fluids you should be consuming to replace what you're losing through perspiration and the exertion. So what happens if you run out of water and now it's time to get out of the woods and you are just starting to dehydrate? And even before you feel dehydration, you are already becoming dehydrated. What's the risk? Well, of course, the worst case is death over a couple of days, but in the short term, Being dehydrated can lead to poor muscle function and poor decision making in the brain. Therefore, you're more likely to make bad decisions and get injured as a result. So it's important to stay well hydrated while you're out in the woods. If you didn't take a proper water filter, something that you can refill at streamside, or some type of one that you will gravity feed into a bottle with you, and all you were counting on is the bottle, maybe just a small bottle of Aquafina water from the local gas station, you're probably going to be in trouble if you don't have a way of purifying water. Now, yes, I know bushcrafters are all about taking stainless steel water bottles and the means of starting a fire so that they can purify the water with a fire. Yep, absolutely. I do. I would absolutely recommend that. That's a skill that everybody has, but not everybody's going to carry that on a regular basis. Even today, the water bottle that I'm counting on actually is one that has a proper filter built into it. I filled it up full of water when I left home, but I'm going to be filling it up from streamside in a few minutes' time, in fact. But if I didn't have that with me, I'm looking to replenish the water in my body with something like this emergency straw. So what's this all about? So here's the thing. When I went to the website and looked for some information, it was rather sparse. There wasn't a lot of information about these water filters. And having a bit of experience now with them, having reviewed them, having looked at all the literature around them, I have an idea what you should be looking at when you're going to buy a water filter for yourself. So it wasn't until I opened this package up, that I found a bit more information than the website itself provided. So it's in the form of a little instruction manual. Read it, all right? Read it. Not that it's, not intuitive. It definitely is intuitive. Let me put that aside for a minute. But this is the straw that you get. It's small. It's 6 inches by about a little over ½ an inch in diameter. The company will tell you it's 1 inch. That's not 1 inch in diameter. And basically, you take the top off. You put this end of the filter in water, and you suck the water through the other end. Okay, it doesn't get any simpler than that. Oh, by the way, don't do what they show on the website. Don't lay on the ground with your face next to a puddle, with this sticking in the puddle, drinking water out. That's not necessary. At least it should not be necessary. And all you're doing is getting dirty, probably getting wet, getting your hands with the contaminated water. If all you have is a puddle, just a little tiny puddle, maybe that's what you need to do. But for most of us, we can find more than a puddle along the way, even if it's just maybe a rock holding some water, or maybe, for me, there's lots of little streams, even tiny streams here, probably full of protozoas and the like, but at the same time there's water available. I'm not going to lay on my face to try and use this straw. There's a much better way, which we'll talk about in a minute. So here's the information that came with this. What they said about this filter is that it is 0.01 micron. They don't use the term hollow fiber filter, but that's what it is. It's a hollow fiber filter. 0.01 micron. And it has a flow rate of 400 liters per minute and a lifespan of 1,000 liters. Okay, I'm not going to dispute the 1,000 liters. It's entirely possible. I'm not going to dispute the 400 liters a minute. That's entirely possible, reasonable for a filter of this size. But there's no way it's 0.01 micron. That's referred to as ultrafiltration. That'll take you right down to virus level. This is not ultrafiltration. This is what we call microfiltration. It cannot be more than 0.1. So 0.1, it could be 0.2, but I suspect it's 0.1 micron. Now, there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. That will take care of all the bacteria and all the protozoas, not the viruses. There's no viruses out here in the woods, not in this area. This is not the type of environment. I don't know too many places in North America that you might have that. And people said, well, yeah, but what about heavy metals and pesticides and chemical runoff? Yeah, this is not going to do it either. Remember, this is an emergency filter. It is not your primary filter if you suspect you're going to need water and your water sources, or you really strongly suspect your water sources are contaminated. Don't count on this. Get something that is much better. This is for those times when you weren't considering that you might need a filter, and this just happens to be in the bottom of your backpack. So I said there's a better way than laying on your face. Let me show you that. I had the bag open before I came out today, and I threw this inside, and I recommend this at the very least. All right? Ziploc bag. right? A Ziploc sandwich bag, freezer bag, whatever you can get your hands on. Roll it up, it goes down inside that little bag that the filter came in. Fill this up with water, then stick your filter down inside that and drink from it. That's a much more effective way of doing it than laying your face down on the ground and trying to drink the water from the puddle with it, okay? All right, so what I thought I would do is I'm going to do two demonstrations. First, I'm going to use that emergency sleeping bag, that Mylar oversized garbage bag, show you how I would get into it, and I'll talk about how I would use it if I had to, and then we have to go for a little hike down to a stream side where I can fill this bag up with some water and show you how the filter works. All right, there's only so much I'm going to be able to do in terms of a demonstration with the small bivvy, and here's what I would do with it if this in fact had turned into an emergency today. Is if I knew I was going to be staying out overnight, like I said, it's going to go down into the high teens, so it wouldn't be a matter of freezing to death, and but you know, it would, why not be uncomfortable when you don't have to be, and that's part of the reason I had this. But had it been much colder into the winter time here, and for some reason I failed to plan properly, and this is what I have in my back, what would I be doing for it? If at all possible, I'd be looking to create some type of a debris bed or browse bed from boughs and branches to get myself off of the ground. Some way of insulating me from the cold, frozen, or wet ground, because that's going to suck more heat out of my body than this could ever protect me from losing. So that would be my first effort, is to do that. After that, you know, maybe that doesn't even mean laying down. Maybe that means sitting down, leaning up against a tree, so there's less of your body on the cold ground. So I just put that out there. That's the idea. Now, getting into this bag, I'm not going to take my clothes off like I would a sleeping bag. I'm going to be using this with all my clothes on. The most I might do in getting ready to use this is loosen the laces on my boots so that my feet don't swell into them and they get uncomfortable, but my boots are staying on my feet. So here's what you get. It is, and I'll bring it up so you can get a closer look at it. Make sure I have the open end. This is like every other space blanket. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it back into that bag, and maybe I don't need to, really. All right. They're touching the ground and over my head, so it's 7 feet long and 3 feet across. So this is plenty big to get inside of without question. Now, let me bring it up and show you. It is simply Mylar material on the inside and orange on the outside. It's a little bit stronger than, oh, actually look at that. It's not all that strong. Of interest, right? So just, there is a good point. Here's something else. Having that happen just now, and that wasn't a very big tug on it, the point being is if you want to use this as a blanket or a ground sheet, split it. There's no reason for it to stay in this configuration in order for it to be used. But here's what I would do in order to use this. This is going to be noisy on the microphone. What I'm doing is trying to gather it up right down to the bottom. And I'm going to step inside of it. Watch me fall. Let's see if I can do this without falling down. All right, I don't want to cover the microphone up, but I think you get the point. You can see that this is big enough for me to be in. And you know what? Even if I had my winter clothing on, which of course I don't right now, sorry for the noise with this. If I had my winter clothing on, I think there'd still be quite a bit of space inside of this. I feel quite roomy in here already. By the way, yes, I am starting to feel the heat. I can feel the radiation. Actually, even on my hands down here, I can feel the heat starting to build up inside. And that's because I'm not laying on cold ground. This would help with reflection. This would help with convection. But if you're going to lay directly on the cold frozen ground, you're going to get cold. All right, so this is the basic concept of how this is used. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to show the water filter in action. Okay, I'm down on the edge of the lake, and I just want to speak for a moment about selection of water, where you're going to collect your water from, if you have a choice, right? So here on the edge of the lake, the water should be pretty clean all by itself. Would I risk drinking directly from this without filtering? No, I probably wouldn't, only because, well, if I look around me now, there's all kinds of lily pads. There were frogs jumping out into the water when I stopped here. Is there a chance that there's contaminants here? Yeah, absolutely there is. But there's less of a chance, or at least less of a concentration of contaminants here than there would be in a stagnant where I can see like mosquito larvae and all kinds of moss and, you know, dead organic material. There's dead organic material and the like in here. But what I'm trying to say is try to find the apparently clean enough water, the cleanest source that you can find. If all you got is that muddy puddle, that's all you got, you're still going to go for that muddy puddle. But if you have any choice, look for something that's relatively clean. You also want something that's free of particulate matter. You don't want to have the mud clogging your filter as you go to drink from it, because it's going to shorten the lifespan to zero very, very quickly. So it's looking pretty good here. I'm actually going to show you what it looks like, because I know the water here is full of tannins. Let me put the filter in my shirt pocket. So I have that Ziploc bag. I'm going to reach down and get a little bit of water out of the lake here. Actually better than I thought it might be. It's actually much clearer. Usually the water here is quite brown and full of tannins, so that's not too bad at all. Now when you go to use your filter, make sure you don't contaminate the end that you put in your mouth with your wet fingers that were just touching the dirty water. Put it in the water and drink. Yep, excuse me. It tastes fine. That was dry, I guess, before. I guess I probably need this water then, don't I? Okay, so this is the first time I've used this filter, obviously, and I guess I'll know tomorrow whether or not it's actually done its job. It'll take a while if there are any protozoas in there to make me sick, but I think it's probably certainly up to the task of what I'm using it for here. And I may actually drink more of this water because it's a lot warmer than I thought it was. By the way, if you're at the end of your filter or end of your time using it, you want to dry it out the best you can. Blow through it to get rid of some of the water. Shake it out. Otherwise, you don't want this putting this back in your bag or backpack or your pocket with water dripping out. So that'll also help to extend the life of it a little bit. All right, so that was my demonstration of the pure water filter. Let's wrap this video up. All right, let's wrap this video up. First thing I'm going to say is, yes, the bag is empty. I couldn't get that back in. I'm going to have to struggle to get that all folded up to get back in the little bag. It's really meant to be a one-use item. I'll probably shove it in the bottom of my backpack and give it a better try when I go home, see if I can salvage anything from it. If not, at least I have a nice little stuff sack that I can use for something else. All right, and the water straw. So here are my closing thoughts on the Sierra Madre emergency sleeping bag and pure water filter. Should you buy them? No. You should not buy them at full price. That's the problem. I looked at their website and they are charging way too much for each of these items. Quite honestly, I know they're probably not going to be happy with me saying that, but their retail price is way, way overly inflated from what it should be. And you can find this branded by other names or even unbranded for much less than their retail price. But here's the thing. They're almost always on sale. I think the current sale right now is 79% off of retail. That makes it competitive with all the no-name branded stuff. That form of advertising tends to lend emergency to the need to buy one of these things right away. I mean, you'll know what I mean when you go to the website, and I recommend you do go to their website to see these products and other products. I mean, this is not everything that Sierra Madre sells. In fact, they're not even known for these. They're more known for their flat lay hammock and their quilts. So there's other products that they're better known for. This is just a new line that they feel is important everybody have. Should you have a blanket and a filter? Yeah, actually, I think that's a really good idea, is to be prepared for whatever the circumstances that could, I don't mean, infinitesimal, small likelihood, but realistic chances. I can get hurt out here at any given time, and even here during the summer, I should have some means of taking care of myself. This is way down the list, I'll say that right now, compared to emergency communications. That would not be number one on my list. But okay, that's all part of another discussion. Do you need or should you have an emergency blanket and an emergency way of purifying or filtering? I won't say purifying, that's a whole other category. Filtering your water to make it safe to drink? Yeah, you should. You really should have some means of doing that. Does it have to be these ones? No, it doesn't, but they work. They're effective. It's just that, as I said, at full retail, they're overpriced. Now, here's the thing. Sierra Madre gave me 2 links, which will be in the video description, that you can follow to look at these products, and those are commission links for me. In other words, if you buy something using those links to those products, then I'll earn, I don't know what it is, 5%, 10%. I'm not even interested in that, quite honest. I'm more interested in you having and owning one. If you decide to buy one, then thank you, but you don't need to buy one from Sierra Madre. If you think you can do better elsewhere, then I recommend you do. Buy something. Have it in your day pack, your backpack, in the glove compartment of your vehicle, in your bug-out bag, some means of staying warm, whether it's this bag or some type of an emergency blanket or something else, like a synthetic filled blanket or a wool blanket, even if you can afford the weight and the space, and some means of cleaning your water up to make it safe to drink. These are just basic premises for, I think, anybody who goes into the woods or anyone who wants to be prepared for an emergency. All right. I'll put everything I have about these 2 products in the video description, plus the links to that I mentioned that will take you to the website so that you can see them. Once again, you'll see the advertising and just how, I don't want to say aggressive, assertive it is, and maybe you'll find that interesting. I found it annoying, to be quite honest, but that's just my take on that, on that type of advertising. But if you have any comments or questions, put them in the comments section below. But until next time, get out and explore and take that path less traveled, because it will make all the difference. Bye for now.